Welcome to Seat Time, everybody, the off-road show that brings you all the results, news, and online shenanigans that make being online a good time. We'd like to say thank you to Fly Racing for their support of Seat Time. Please go check them out at flyracing.com. Welcome to Seat Time, everybody. Brian Pierce here, your host for this lovely Tuesday evening. As always, we're in Texas, and I don't know what you guys' winter has been like, but we finally got the cold, and it sucks, and I kind of wish it had already go away, but that's kind of what it is. I'm sure some of our guests this evening from the Northeast, they're used to this. It's been there for a long time. They're shoveling snow, and it's just what it is for them. But, man, in Texas, it sucks. It's freezing. It's interesting. We're going to get used to it. So this is Seat Time. Welcome, everybody, to the online show for the off-road enthusiast. If you happen to have thrown a leg over a dirt bike or have watched somebody fall off of one and laughed at them while holding your beer, this is definitely going to be the show for you, and we appreciate you tuning in. If for some reason you're watching us live, which we do appreciate, make sure that you grab the link right now, seattime.co/live. Throw that in to one of your little social networks and get more people in here to watch as we have our lovely guest this evening. So this is episode 149. We're one episode away from 150. Trying to come up with ideas to see if there's anything fun, different, or other ways to create more enjoyment for you guys and, of course, a pintful of awesome for ourselves. So definitely message us on Facebook if you have any thoughts on that. So Seat Time brought to you by the fine folks over at Fly Racing, Stillwell Performance, and Fast Company. So Fly Racing, flyracing.com. Obviously, they carry Fly Racing, the gear line, which you can get through their website or any of your local dealers around town. Of course, Stillwell Performance, stillwellperformance.com. They will make sure that you have the best suspension out there. And the way that if you go back and listen to some of the archives, they have the 4CS stuff figured out. They're doing a great job and a lot of work over there. Dirt Rider loved what they did for them at the GNCCs. And, of course, Fast Company has the flex bars. If you're not an old man, because that's not what it's for, but if you happen to be somebody that maybe you have a lot of arm pump, get a lot of blisters, just don't ride as much as you would like to, and you have sore hands, flex bars are something that you guys should look into, so you can check them out at fastco.com, and we really, really appreciate their support. Of course, you can find us, seattime.co is the website. We are on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram. We're on all that crap. You can find us, you can friend us, you can like us, you can tweet us, you can whatever it's, and we'll probably respond in equally awkward fashion. So thank you for tuning in. Oh my gosh, our guest this evening is somebody that I've kind of always worked trying to figure out a way to work him into the show. It's like, how do I do this? And he's had some bad luck this year at the ISDE, so I figured this would be the perfect time to talk to Jeff Fredette to talk about all of the highlights of his life and not just the DNF that he did receive this year at the ISDE. So for those of you who do not know, 2002 is when he was inducted into the AMA Hall of Fame. He is the KDXpert, as his website is his claim to fame. 1981 Blackwater 100 winner. He did actually overall a GNCC, 34 ISDEs, but 33 finishes. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm sure, obviously, that is just a very small list of accomplishments for this rad dude. So we just have to ask, Mr. Jeff Fredette, how is your evening going, kind sir?
Well, you think it's cold in Texas? You ought to be up here in Illinois.
Yeah,
we didn't even get to 20 today.
Oh man, yeah. See, at least we started, I think, above 30. I don't know. Yeah, but see, and you guys, I would imagine too, have crazy amounts of snow and all that a lot more to deal with than just cold temperatures, right?
Well, actually, we don't have no snow yet, so it's
really?
nice right here. We're just making ice right now.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's not too bad then. So hopefully you guys don't have any blizzards. And we don't have any snow days, because snow days here in Texas turn into stupid people days, and it just goes downhill from there. So you're back from Argentina. You're back at work. You're making life happen. So I guess just kind of, if you could encapsulate all of your ISDE experiences into some form of a story, what would that be?
It would have to be it's just awesome. I mean, it's it's a very memorable moment. You really get teary-eyed with a lot of stuff at 6 days. I mean, representing the USA, and the last few years, the way the U.S. team has improved so much in the last 3 years, basically, is just awesome.
That's very cool. how in the heck did you kind of get started with, going to the ISDE? Did you ever go to it when it was actually still the ISDT, or have you only been going when it was the ISDE?
Well, the first one I went to was a ISDT.
Okay.
And the reason I basically got into it was, of course, like most everybody gets started and stuff. The movie on any Sunday was out, and I was still real young at the time, and it's just like, that looks like a race I need to go do. And I went to a couple up in Michigan qualifiers, just to get the hang of it. And in '78, I decided to make a try to make the team. And my very first year I tried, I made it on the team. And it's just like, it was so much fun doing it. I mean, I got hooked.
Yeah, man, that's crazy though. At that moment in time, when you first qualified for the team, what were your expectations going in that first year, and how kind of, what did you do to prepare yourself?
Well, basically, I did a lot of training, doing a lot of riding, basically. Not so much working out, but stuff that took a lot of energy. Like instead of riding my bike, I was pushing my bike,
Right.
go riding it, and because we rode outside of the house, and I'd push it to the trails and come back and change tires and all that kind of good stuff. And actually, the first year I went over, I was part of the KTM contingent. We went over like a week early and built the bikes in Austria there, where the factory was at the time, and we loaded them all up in semis, and about 6 guys got in a Volkswagen microbus and drove up to Sweden.
Oh my gosh! And so in '78, it was '78. Is that correct?
You're breaking up.
Oh, was that in '78?
Yeah, 1978.
Okay, so and how old were you then, and what was it like? What was it like for you at that age, going over to Europe and kind of living this dream life of riding a dirt bike?
Well, I mean, it was basically we're going with a bunch of guys that I basically grew up at the races with.
Right.
The guys from Penton and KTM and that. So it was just like a family going over there. So you really didn't have the feel of actually leaving the country, because we were still with a group of people. But once you got over there, I mean, a lot of things were different. You couldn't talk to people, and food's a little bit different, but you eat whatever they make, and they're living on it, so it's got to be good for you.
Right? Yeah, make it happen. Yep. How has and this could be a very lengthy answer, or it could be a short one, or we could do it in parts, but I kind of want to know, from that first experience and from the 34 that you've now done, how has, I guess, one, the ISDE changed? How has the experiences changed? And then with the effort that you're seeing being put forth in by Team USA now, and obviously a lot of other countries too, kind of where do you see the ISDE going?
Well, I mean, basically the very first one I went to, I mean, in Sweden, I mean, back when it was ISDT, back then the rules were you had to carry everything that you're going to need for your whole day. I mean, the pit crews, gas stops and stuff, where you got gas, lubricants, and the only tool they could give you was a hammer. Wow. All the rest of the stuff, any kind of spares you needed for the bike, you had to carry it with you. And back in the day, I mean, if you watched on any Sunday, I mean, those guys had like double cables on everything, shifter levers, zip tied and safety wired on your bike. I don't even know if they had zip ties back then, to be honest with you. But
you guys probably had the safety wire stuff to the bikes.
Right. I mean, the shifters, the levers, the kick starters, all that stuff, you carried with you. If you thought you were going to need a chain, you put it in your pack and carried it, because there was no O-ring chains back then. So things did wear out really fast back then.
Oh my gosh.
And keeping your bike going for the whole time was part of the ordeal, where, nowadays you just get on your bike and go. I mean, any bike that they make right now, if you don't crash it, I mean, it's going to make it 6 days. I shouldn't say that, because I didn't make it 6 days. I mean, it's the bikes nowadays are really good, and nothing wears out on them.
Right.
And that's the biggest, one of the biggest changes, between, having to carry everything to now you can just about change anything you want on the bike, as long as it's not a marked part. As far as you talk about the support we've got now compared to when we first started. I mean, when we first started, families and friends that went over for being a support crew, they worked out of their car.
Right.
I mean, if it was raining out and they had a hatchback, they got lucky because they had a tent. But now the supplies at 6 days. I mean, we send a 40-foot container that we've got that thing jam packed. And I noticed this year when we got there, people that weren't there to help unload it, which we had plenty of help to unload it, but they showed up on Friday and they're like, how did all this stuff come out of that 40-foot container? I mean, it's amazing how much stuff we can fit in that thing. And, basically in the last 3 years, the amount we've raised the bar as far as, our results.
Oh man. Let's see if we get them back really quick. Chatting about the fact that we're trying to see kind of how things have evolved with the ISDE team. And, obviously with Kurt Caselli, 2006, 2007, winning the junior trophy team with the junior trophy team at the time is really kind of the pinnacle where he started to show a lot more interest in the ISDE. And so then through that, a lot of other people were starting to show interest in the ISDE. Because of that, starting to get a little bit more money and funding and starting to, see a little bit the level of effort was a little bit higher and being put in better. And so I think now, though, we know that the amount of money was so much more expensive this year, especially because going to Argentina, not just it was the taxes actually for shipping were intense. I think they were like, just the taxes alone were like $20,000 for the crate. So that's just ungodly amounts of money to get there. Yeah, I think we're back.
All right.
Woohoo! Well, yeah, so we were kind of talking about the level of support and how that's changed. It's like, it's crazy how much you guys can fit into that container. When did that change? Like, when and what do you think caused that change with, being able to move from shipping over stuff just in the bike crate itself, but then maybe ship to where you guys are now using this 40-foot container? Like, what kind of changed logistically for y'all to be able to have that happen?
That happened back in, it had to be probably in the mid 90s, I think, when the container came along. Cause I can remember shipping my bike. I would actually carry my bike on board with me when I would leave on the plane. There was 3 years I cut my bike in half and put it in my luggage and took it with me.
Holy crap.
And that was because it was cheaper to do it that way than it was to send it in the container. And then I would just sell my bike over there and just leave it in the country wherever I was at. And, it was a whole lot easier than boxing it back up and bringing it home.
Was that the norm for most people that did the ISDE at that time? Was to, essentially just sell whatever you had left and then come back with just your luggage?
No, that wasn't the norm. I was the only one taking my bike on the airplane with me. There was a couple other guys that had some problems trying to do that because they just rolled it up to the airport and go, "Hey, I want to check this bike," But I thought it out, called the airlines a little bit and found out what all the rules were. Of course, that was before 9/11, so
right,
not a problem there. But but since then, the container has gotten more and more of a key piece. It's once we get all the bikes and containers, all that stuff out of there, it all gets converted over to rider support type stuff where we can just put all of the, put all the shelves down and everybody's got a place to put their stuff during the week.
Is that a cat?
Yeah.
I was like, is there a small child that you have in a box somewhere that we need to know about?
I got the kid on a leash telling him to shut up.
No, that's cool. Yeah, keep going.
But yeah, once we get everything out of the container, the rider's got a spot where they can put their stuff for the week, spare tires, spare parts, whatever. Plus there's all the crates outside that, most people that built the crate, they make it so they can get in and out of it real quick, and it's part storage outside also.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really evolved. Where each gas crew nowadays has got their own van. That that's part of the support package deal that we pay to get our bikes and stuff over there. So all of the pits are well supplied with tools and mats and gas cans and food and shade and chairs and all that stuff. So I mean, everybody's got, as far as our team goes, I mean, it's really, in the last 3 years, really come together.
Right, man, it's so neat. Yeah, I was there. 2012, Jason Hooper and I flew to Germany and helped cover the event there. And it totally blew my mind, just because I've seen pictures and videos and stuff, but just being there really kind of brought home the vastness and how much stuff you guys have with all the club teams, with the junior trophy team, the senior team, and then of course the world trophy team. So it's a logistical nightmare, and I'm glad that somebody else has to deal with that, because that's a lot of stuff.
Right. I mean, Mandy Maston is the kingpin behind the whole container. She does a great job. Had a lot of work this year because everything had to be on the nuts and bolts of what we were bringing over there with values and weights and stuff. I mean, she had a lot of paperwork this year, but there's a good group of us that go over there about 5-6 times a year, and once the container comes back, unload it. Then then after that we wait for spring and go in and clean up all the easy ups and clean everything that needs to be cleaned up. And this year, being as dusty as it was, we're gonna have a lot of cleanup to do. But
yeah, I bet.
It's good to have a good team like that working on that kind of stuff behind the scenes, and it's every level that has taken place in the last 3-4 years has really helped the U.S. team out. Very
cool. Well, where do you see it evolving? Where do you see it going to? Is it? I mean, everything kind of can reach a peak and fizzle out, and obviously I don't want to see that happen. But I wonder if we were to get to that point where we win, is it kind of like, all right, cool, we've reached that accomplishment, and then we would see it kind of start to dwindle off, like the effort being put in, and it would go back to kind of like it was before Kurt, where there was effort, but there wasn't like you see now. And I wonder, kind of where you see kind of things going.
I don't really see it going backwards, that's for sure.
Okay, awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah, right now, I mean, it's we're getting a few corporate sponsors and stuff involved over the last 3-4 years. With the Weller Group being in there, I mean, that's really brought the team around and making us look really professional when we go over there. All the other sponsors, have been on board for quite a while. And this year we picked up a couple new ones, last minute, and, people are getting more involved with what we're doing, and the results are only going to bring more sponsorship, we hope. So, and, with this year, as bad as a year as it was, I mean, because, the way the week started off, I mean, it was looking really, really good for the U.S., and, Day 3 was kind of a debacle for a lot of guys, and unfortunately, all our club teams took a hit with at least one rider on each team going out. We were looking really good, and still the way the week ended up, I mean, with the juniors winning their division, and quite a few class winners, and I think 3 or 4 in the top 10 overall. We've got the speed and we got the riders. It's just a matter of getting a break there somewhere.
Yeah. No, that's a solid point. It seems like a lot of craziness has to come together and be perfect for somebody to be able to pull this off, or be the French and have the best luck ever. Even though somehow they continue to be very, very dominant. Well, obviously not somehow. They have fantastic riders, but they don't seem to be plagued with bad luck like some of the other teams. I mean, Australia as well, getting pretty well cut in half. So this is. Is it correct that this year, your 34th year, was your first DNF at an ISDE?
Yes, it was. It was the first DNF, and there was a lot of milestone years along the way. It's just like, oh, this is going to be the year, this is going to be the year, and somehow I avoided all of those problems, and you look back at all of the fluky things that's happened to guys, whether they're riding or not, and after after the day's ride, I mean, a couple guys have gotten sick by bites and food poisoning and stuff like that, and to dodge all those bullets for that many years, I mean, I can't complain.
Yeah, you got to be pretty happy with the results. I raced the Baja Rally this year, and when my bike blew up, I immediately was kind of like, oh, that sucks. And then it hit me a little bit later when I got more frustrated with it. Like at the time, it's like, oh, it's racing. There's nothing I could do about it. But then it hit me a little bit later, and I got really frustrated. It's like, oh, all this time, all this effort, all this money. And my dad and I had to have kind of a heart-to-heart to talk about it that, in the long run, a seized bike and the money that we spent, not the end of the world, and it sucks that it happened, but we can get over it. I mean, did you have a moment where somebody maybe had to help you kind of talk yourself off a cliff of being extremely upset about it, or do you think that you're just, it is what it is, and you just kind of went with it?
When I first broke down out in the middle of, I don't know where,
out of Argentina.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the desert, and my bike quit and I couldn't get it started, and I borrowed I borrowed a crescent wrench from Paul Krause, and he stopped and helped me with the let me borrow a crescent wrench, and he had one heck of a time getting his bike started, and finally after kick starting and electric starting and all at the same time, it finally came somewhat to life, and it finally got clean enough to get him to the next check, and that's where his 6-day ended up. But another guy came and, same thing I did, to slow down for an obstacle, and his bike died, and he just pushed it underneath the bush and sat down in the shade. And, and I spent the whole hour trying to get my bike, to start, do something,
Yep.
And, pouring gas down the spark plug hole, and I couldn't get a fart out of it. It just wouldn't do anything. So, and up to that point, it was, it's just like, wow, this is it, and it wasn't until I got back and seen family and friends, and, that's when it hit home.
Yeah. Yeah, mm-hmm. I bet. I noticed that you had a quote on the AMA website from when you were inducted into the AMA Hall of Fame. It said, "I can count on two hands the amount of times I've quit or broken down, and I hate to break down." And I was wondering after this, and obviously that was probably written a while ago, it's like, can you still do that? Could you still count those amount of times on two hands?
It's I can't think of the last time I actually broke down, I mean, they're very, very, very few and far between. And,
right.
I mean, without injuries, and that, I mean, it's yeah, it's not very many breakdowns, that's for sure.
Right. Well, I think we could say yes. We'll go with yes. That's my that's my
okay,
professional answer. It will be yes. We did have a question from the chat room. I did forget to mention, if you do have questions for Jeff while we're live right now, you can go to tlk.io/seat time. I'm even forgetting what it is, and then you can jump in the chat room and ask us questions. And it was, are you still going to be involved with the ISDE team in the future?
Yeah, definitely. I broke down on day 3. Day 4, I spent most of the day getting my bike all cleaned up and recrated into the box and to send back home. And it was day 4 night that I ended up going to the jury meeting, which takes place every night, which governs pretty much the way the day went, the way it's going, and any kind of complaints and stuff like that. And I got kind of involved a little bit with that. That kind of looked very interesting to do. Then of course on day 5, I just went out and helped at a checkpoint, pouring gas and stuff like that. So, I'm not going to compete in any more 6 days, but who knows how many more I'll keep going to. I mean, it's it's a lifelong thing that I've done, and just because I'm not going to be racing them doesn't mean I can't go there and find something to do to help, new riders, the existing team we got, and just trying to improve the whole level of everything.
Right. No, for sure. And I think a gentleman like yourself seems to be pretty committed. I mean, 34 years going to the same event. And I say the same event. Obviously, it traverses the world and the globe, so it's not the exact same event. It's just the same rules in different parts of the world. But yeah, I think that we could say that we'll see your face wearing the colors representing the USA at quite a few ISDEs to come.
Yeah, for sure.
We did have a dude on Facebook, and this is a good friend of mine, actually, Andrew Truesdale from Texas, and he asked, do you think you would have DNF'd if you'd have been on a bulletproof KDX?
Yeah, I had a lot of people say that before I went to 6 days. It's like, you should start on an old one, And actually, I mean, like, it's like, after I raced on my bike, it's like, I should have like got an old 83 or 84 out and just did it on an old air cooled bike. Would I have finished on one of those? I mean, that technology is kind of antiquated, and the older they get, the more problems they're starting to have with things just rotting out and not being able to make stuff. But it's one of those things where 6 days this year, I've never ever changed a air filter during a day of competition, on whether it be 6 days or local or anything. And gone some pretty dusty days at 6 days where it's a couple hundred miles, and at 110 miles when I took that air box up, took the seat off and looked at the air filter, I was like, oh, it doesn't look too dirty. And when I took it out and it weighed a good 2 to 3 pounds, I'm like, oh, there's my problem. And the backfire screen in the air box, when it looked like an air filter, it's like, it was sick to see.
Oh man, yeah, that's got to be pretty depressing. Is that typically? I mean, I would imagine if that's what happened to you, and that's what it sounds like happened to a lot of other people, that it was the sand just being so fine that it was getting sucked in through the air filters into the actual engines.
Yeah, it was. They called it bull dust or something like that. Is what their official name was when I was at the FIM meeting that night. They called it bull dirt or bull dust.
Huh.
And I mean, it was. I mean, there was times when you go into a rut and if it was water, that's what it would look like. I mean, it'd go right over the front fender, and it's just like, whew, and some of them you get stuck in. You had to push yourself out of the dust. It was that thick and deep.
That's weird. Yeah, we heard it as fesh. In the States, there's a lot of people were talking about the fesh, and I'm like, what's the fesh? I had no idea. But there's actually there's a Wikipedia page for it. And it just kind of describes what fesh is, and I was like, this is insane, but there it is. So, but yeah, bull dust?
Yeah, they call it bull dust or bull dirt, something like that.
I like it.
I mean, you'd be in sand 1 second, and then the next second you'd be in this brown talcumy powder bull something.
Bull, yeah. Bull don't want to be here anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, there's so many different things that we could talk about. You've been inducted to the AMA Hall of Fame. You've won the Blackwater 100. You are pretty much the expert if anybody wants to talk anything KDX. What are some of the obviously with 34 ISDEs, we could say that, but what are some of the biggest highlights for you as a quote unquote career in this, as being such a prominent person in when it comes to off-road racing in the States?
Well, it's one of those things where, yeah, I've been around doing it for a long time, and it goes back to basically on any Sunday. I mean, yeah. Am I was I ever the fastest racer? No, I wasn't the fastest racer, but like for the 6 days stuff like that, I mean, it takes a rider, it takes a mechanic, and it takes somebody they can keep their head straight for all 6 days. And I mean, that mechanics and being able to hear what your bike's doing and react to what it's doing to be able to make it last the whole time, I think that's what's carried me through on all the kind of racing that I've done. I mean, it's the enduros, the hare scrambles, ice racing seasons is starting up right now up here, and it's just everything I do. If you prep everything right, you're going to have a bike that's going to perform real good for you, though, whatever kind of racing you're going to be doing.
Right. I noticed looking at your website, what is it, Freddette Racing Products? Is that correct?
Correct.
FRP?
Oh.
You guys actually have left turning specific ice racing tires? So left turning specific? Is that just because I guess you're like oval ice racing?
Well, that's the old school ice racing. I mean, there's a lot of places in the country, like up in northern Wisconsin, out in Colorado and stuff, that just do oval racing. So there's tires for that, but the biggest thing that's taken off right now is the left and right racing. Basically road racing on a flat lake. it's anybody that's got a snow plow on a quad can go out and plow themselves a mile, 2 mile track and go out and practice corners all day long on the ice.
Oh my gosh. What does some crazy person look for when trying to figure out if said lake or piece of body water is actually frozen enough to hold a race on it?
Well, like Monday already. Yesterday, I was talking to guys up in Minnesota, and they got 4 or 5 inches of ice already, and they're looking forward to going out this weekend on it. 4 inches to go out on a lake, is one person, 2 people, not digging big holes and stuff, and you can have a lot of fun on 4 inches of ice. I mean, it don't take much, but most permits are 8 to 10 inches of ice, that are running something organized and that, and you get about 12 inches, you can start driving cars and stuff out there. It's no big deal.
So unofficially 4 to 5 inches, officially 8 to 10 inches, and then 12 inches is where it's at for cars.
Yeah.
This may sound like a whole nother show right now.
Hey-oh. Yeah, we go. Ice road bikers or something.
He'll get all kinds of crazy. Oh my gosh. So even Todd Slavic, another Texan that has done quite a few different types of racing, said that he got a chance to race with you at Last Man Standing and watched one of your KDX just totally try to annihilate you. He said any mere mortal would have probably died being hit by the bike the way you were, but luckily it was Jeff Fredette, so he was totally okay. What did you remember? Do you remember racing down here for Last Man Standing?
Well, the first one I think I rode it on a KDX. The second one I rode it on a KLX 450, and that was the last one I rode, which was the third one they did. I think the last one they put on there, and the first one was actually somewhat rideable, and the third one I went to that they had down there is like, this is out of my league. And it's just like, get me out of here, and they just kept going, well, just follow the arrows, and finally, when my bike pummeled me, after trying to get up a hill that was, 30 feet up and straight back down, it's like, okay, now can you show me the shortcut out of here? It's like, I'm lucky to still be walking, but yeah, that was a pretty brutal race.
Yeah, I was out there. So the first Last Man Standing, that had right when I got back into riding, was it like 2007, 2008, and so we were just happened to be out at Munster the weekend after, and we saw the arrows because the guys hadn't taken them down yet. So we started following them around, and I told my buddy we were with, I was like, I think this was an enduro or something, because this is Mark Trail, because I had raced enduros in Louisiana, so I kind of knew. And I was like, holy shit, this is a really hard enduro. Like, this is ridiculous. And so then the next day I start going around and looking online, and that's when I figured out. I was like, oh my gosh, it was this event, this Last Man Standing. So we went out again the next 2 years that they had it to beer drink and bench race while the crazies were out there racing, because I knew that was above and beyond my capabilities. So
yeah, it was the first year I went down there was a lot of fun, and all my buddies that went with me, they're like, well, they're holding it again next year, and they're like, where are they going to find 250 more idiots to go drive this again? But the second year it was just too expensive to go down there, and it was an ice race. It sounded like. I mean, it was really messy getting down there, and the third one was just they wanted only one person to finish, and yep. I mean, they did a pretty good job only letting 2 people finish.
Yep. Yeah, that's what when I was down there, when I was talking with Archie and some of the other Red River dirt riders that were kind of the main ones that did a lot of the work. I was like talking to them. I was like, so what were you guys told this year from Red Bull? And Red Bull was like, we want one person to finish the Last Man Standing. And I'm like, oh shit, because I knew that Munster had that. It's just that do you really want to kill that many people and that many bikes? And yes, they did.
Yeah, I can remember one spot. It was like a undercut waterfall. It was a good 6-7 foot straight up, undercut up. And there was 4 or 5 of us working on bikes, getting them up this waterfall, and one of the spotters sitting at the top of the hill. I said, serious. I like how the fast guys get up here. They can't wait for 4 or 5 of their buddies to come catch up to them.
Right.
He looked at me and go, they rode right up it. I'm like, oh, okay. But nowadays they got the enduro cross, and you watch what they can do on bikes, and it's just like, it's amazing what them trials guys can do.
Yeah, that's interesting because we're gonna have Zach Huberty on in a little bit to talk with him because Beta's just released their X Trainer, which is kind of a new style of motorcycle in the sense that it's really catered toward an entry level person. So do you think that there's gonna be, because now that we're starting to see enduro crosses, is becoming a little bit more popular and some of these other more hard enduros, do you think we're gonna start to see some of these different actual specific bikes, being manufactured for these kind of events? Because they're saying that this X Trainer could, with some modifications, be a very good kind of hard enduro machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's like everything; it evolves as it goes.
Okay.
It's that's how they get with that's how everything raises the bar. I mean, manufacturers look at there's a place to build something, and this is what we need. It's a little bit different. It's like they go off and do it. I mean, they've been doing that on street bikes all along. It's just like want adventure bikes. And that stuff's kind of evolved the same way. It's like we want be able to take our bikes off road. They're street bikes, and so I mean, everything evolves as it goes along. So I mean, I foresee that because I mean there's a lot of stuff that's getting towns and stuff that are doing it, especially like over in Europe, I mean, it's that big. So
yeah, man, that would be so freaking cool. If we were able to get something like that. I know for a while I heard rumblings within the Red River Dirt Riders that what they were trying to do for a Last Man Standing was to do like a Trinity River race. Obviously it would be different. It would be around the same time, but it was kind of race the Trinity River bottom from Fort Worth all the way to Dallas. But they just had to get all the cities to okay it.
Right.
It would kind of like be like a beach race, but obviously it's more of a dried up river. Stuff like that would have been so freaking cool. But it's just the cities don't. That's where they get all antsy with insurance and liability and stuff like that. So
lawyers get involved.
And lawyers in the United States make a lot of money for a reason because they suck. Blood suckers.
Yep. Get down to where we just came from down here in Argentina, and one guy goes, "This would never fly at home." I go, "They ain't got no lawyers down here. I mean, there's holes in the sidewalks. I mean, you got to pay attention to what you're doing. And I mean, that's what you do when you're walking. But that would never fly back here."
Yeah. They don't. It would be interesting. So, any last thoughts before we kind of close it up on your vast ISDE racing career, and of course all the other accolades that you've accumulated throughout the years in your your career that's not even over yet, that you could still rack up more points on, if you will?
Well, that's kind of what happened when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2002. It's like I thought, geez, that's the end. I'm done.
You mean I have to stop now?
Yeah, it's like well, usually you get inducted to the Hall of Fame. It's like you're done. You has been, and go to pasture. And it's like So I mean, I've done a lot since then, and I don't foresee myself going anywhere in the motorcycle business, industry other than staying into it. So, Team USA. I mean, I'll be working with them guys with the 6 days and stuff, and doing a local racing, maybe some local series and stuff, and hit some national enduros and a couple of GNCCs here and there, and whatever other kind of cool events come up. Because somebody says, "Hey, you need to come do this," it's like, I'll show up.
Nice. That's the kind of attitude we all need to have. Is just kind of go out and have a good time and race. And if you do good, awesome. And if not, well, if your air filter and bike gets completely clogged with fesh, then that shit happens too. So just keep moving forward.
Yeah. That's bad stuff that happened, but yeah, it's it's one of those things I'll never forget. But unfortunately, it happened. But now I can say I got one of everything. I got some golds, I got some silvers, got the bronze, and I got a DNF too.
Right? You've accumulated the spectrum of what you can get at an ISDE. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing some of your experiences with us. And of course, we like to talk moto. We like to talk all just off road and all the cool people that are interested and involved in the sport. So we really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I would have been on last week, but I was still down in Argentina. So.
Oh yeah, no worries. We're glad you got back safe. Even though the bike may not be running when it gets back.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That'll be an interesting thing to take apart once it does get back.
Yes, actually, yeah, for sure. Reach out and make sure you post like pictures on Facebook or something like that as you kind of take it apart and start to figure out exactly what went wrong with it, because that'll be really interesting to learn.
Oh yeah, yep, it'll be reverse engineering there for sure.
Cool, man. Well, you take it easy, and we'll be in touch.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.
Yep, have a good night.
Awesome. So, Mr. Jeff Fredette, like I said, we've really talked about this for a long time, having him on the show. It's just trying to figure out sometimes with all the other stuff that's going on in the world how to do that. And even though it's unfortunate that he DNF'd, we had to do it. So, of course, Fly Racing is a huge sponsor of Seat Time, and we wanted to make sure we give them their due diligence. But one of the things I want to talk about is how much that Fly supports us, that they're okay with us talking about Kurt Caselli. So we all know that November 15th last year, Kurt Caselli passed away racing the Baja 1000. This Tuesday is when we did our tribute show for Kurt Caselli last year, where we had people call into the show. We had Brian Story was on the couch with us, telling about Team USA ISDE stories. So I just wanted to take the moment to kind of reflect on the fact that Kurt Caselli has been gone for a year and what we've seen. We've seen so many people share so many stories about how much he did for their lives and for their careers in the industry, outside the industry, and just in general, how great of a person he was. So if you guys, for some reason, you're out there and you don't really know too much about Kurt Caselli, you go find our show from last year and listen to all the cool stories that people came into the show and shared about what he did for them and how much he elevated their life. And their experiences on this planet. Super, super cool dude. Obviously, it sucks. So Kurt Caselli Foundation, you can check that out if you're willing to support and help off-road racers stay a little bit safer out there. So, of course, thanks to Fly Racing for their support and for supporting this sport. Go check them out at flyracing.com. Mr. Zach Huberty, you were our second guest this fine evening. How is your evening going?
It's going well. Just trying to escape the cold here in Pennsylvania. It's like in the 20s right now.
We just right when we started talking with Mr. Freddette, he was mentioning how it's been in the 20s all day for them there in Illinois, and I was like, man, and I thought our early 30s or our low 30s was sucky, but 20s sounds suckier.
Yeah, it's hard to do much outside, and it's been windy all day, and frankly, I'm kind of ready to go south or maybe for the weather to warm up a bit.
Right? Or go east and go GNCC racing?
I can't go much more east. I'll be in the ocean.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cold in itself. Well, cool. Well, I mean, first, congratulations on the new job. So what is the official title? What does the business card say? Or what is the footer in the email?
It says East Coast Race Manager. So
that's a title. What's the job actually entail?
The job, I'll be doing pit support at the GNCCs and National Enduros for Justin Sode, Corey Buttrick, and then Jesse Grome. And then during the week, I'll be doing light maintenance on Buttrick's and Grome's race bike. I'll continue to do the press releases that I've done for all the race team, support and how their results are doing. And then finally, I'm kind of doing some of the broader race team stuff as far as helping with sponsors and just coordinating, tires and making sure riders are happy, and kind of eventually maybe just kind of becoming like the intermediate guy between Tim Pilg at Beta and like the riders.
Right.
So just kind of, I'm really trying to pull a lot of weight off of his shoulders and, help him out more.
Okay.
That's, right now, since we aren't racing, I'm not traveling, and I started work November 1st, I've just been helping him out with whatever we need to get done.
Okay, and currently, or will you have a quote-unquote office, or is it just like wherever the work needs to be done, that's where the work gets done?
Yeah, it's a traveling office. One day it could be in Georgia, another day it could be at home, it could be at a hotel. It's kind of the lifestyle I like to live. I'm not really one person to stay behind a desk all day and, read emails and stuff. I'd rather be out doing something, traveling, driving. I like to change it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. If I didn't have so many stinking kids, here at the house, it'd be a different story. But you know what? When you have sex, you have kids. That's the way it works, folks. So get married first, then have kids. I'm not going to tell you what to do about the sex part. So Beta's had some interesting press releases. I think the first one that kind of caught some people off guard or was a surprise was the one with Kyle Redmond. It was neat to see that Kyle Redmond is going to be or is signed to a deal with Beta for next year. Now, do you know offhand, is that just endurocross or is that kind of some hard enduro type events as well?
Pretty much it's kind of be what Cody did as far as he'll do the FIM Super Enduro, which starts, I think it's December 3rd, and then he'll do the different extreme races like TKO, King of Motos, possibly Erzberg. I don't remember if that was on the list, and then he'll do Endurocross with Max Gersten, Morgan Tanky, and then we'll have a amateur support rider there as well.
Okay, cool. Who's the amateur support rider?
Can't tell you. That's coming out this week.
Oh.
But it's someone that's currently been on Beta. So
is it Ty Cullens?
Maybe. You never know.
I can't say yes, but I can't say no.
Yep.
Yeah, no. If it is, congrats to him. That's cool because he's been supported by Beta anyway for a while. What are you doing over there, Steven? Oh, is that because of the drink that we spilled on the keyboard? Man, so we talk about all the technical difficulties with Seat Time. Everything's going smooth. We're ready to go 5 minutes before the show goes live, and we knock a drink over on the desk onto the keyboard. I mean, we just can't get away from it, dude. What's the problem? What do you think, Zach? Any advice now that you're a team manager for this team of?
I don't know. I was gonna say
clowns?
no drinks in the office, but you are Seat Time. So
that's like saying no sex in the champagne room.
Yourself.
That's like saying no sex in the champagne room. Come on. Just because they say it doesn't mean it doesn't need to happen. So, and then of course we go, Cody Webb, like, this is so Cody Webb going to the RPM KTM team, away from Beta, like, but it's what it is. Excited that Max Gersten re-signed with Beta, so that's cool for what's going to go on kind of on the West Coast-ish, but Endurocross is moving around, so now it's much more broad than just the West Coast as it was for so many years. But then we kind of see, the fact that you guys are Jesse Grome, so signed a 2-year deal with Jesse Grome, did a great job at the National Enduros this year. Will he be doing all the GNCCs or just some of the GNCCs?
No, we'll be doing all of them.
Okay,
He'll be doing every race in XC2, and then he'll race the pro class in the National Enduros, and right now Corey Buttrick is signed to do just the first couple GNCCs, and if I think he does well, then we'll look at doing more of them. But his deal is basically just around National Enduros for this year.
Very cool. And then the X Trainer is kind of like, I guess, the biggest and most recent with Beta.
Yep.
After. In between all this was when they put out the press release about you officially becoming kind of a titled manager for the East Coast. I mean, which is awesome. Yep. So this X Trainer, an entry-level bike, $7,000, $6,999. Kind of that step up, for maybe some of the pit moms out there that are on like a CRF 230. Maybe a younger kid who doesn't need to go all the way up to like a 250F 4-stroke off of an 80. Kind of that. Is that kind of the spectrum where this bike fits in?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the broad range, everybody starts out on like a 50, and if you're not serious and you go to an 80 and then maybe a 100 and a 150, and then you're at that 230, and you're just looking for a little something different, or maybe just an upgrade. And Beta's kind of said that they want to be that next step with the cross trainer. And they did kind of mention at the meeting that, they realized that the price difference from a 230 to this new bike is a little bit different, but they think that there's a huge market out there for the entry-level enduro guy, but that's not the only market. We're trying to sell to maybe someone who's shorter. They talked about like maybe if it's a women's rider and they're looking for something, or trying to think what else as far as like just the older rider. if you want to do extreme racing. So they're really playing it off as the entry-level bike. They're saying that it's a fun bike. That's what it's all about. But, I mean, they're hoping to sell a lot of them. That's the key, and dealers will be getting them in March, and each dealer is kind of being pushed to have one to test so that other people can ride it too.
How do you think people are going to respond? Now, I get the fact of why it's a 300cc engine and the way that it's going to deliver power and stuff like that. That it's more of a torquey engine, like a lot like a trials bike would be, or in that realm. But how do you think the general market is going to kind of understand that? Are they going to get that? Because I think we're kind of led to believe that the bigger the number, the faster the bike is, especially on the motocross side of things. I don't know if I wouldn't say that that's 100% with the off-road crowd, but that's still kind of the general rule of thumb. Do you think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to kind of go 300 cc's is an entry-level bike? That seems kind of, what the heck?
There could be, and I think that's one of those things where maybe riding one or seeing one firsthand and how it runs is going to, be the seller for the bike. But you have to remember, like, people that know bikes well, that pipe design is really based around kind of like a trial style pipe, and it's made for torque and power, and that 250 engine is the same exact engine as what a regular race bike would have as far as like the size and the bolt alignment and stuff, but inside the internals are a lot different.
Right. Okay.
And it's not going to be like some racehorse. And you wouldn't believe how many questions I've gotten, emails about, hey, can I make this thing a 300RR? And I said, why don't you just buy a 300RR? Like, but then again, they would say, well, I'm shorter, I'm older, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And I can see the point, and maybe down the road when we can open them up and, me personally see them, maybe there are mods to make it faster. But I mean, I think
that would void all warranties, by the way.
Yeah, probably.
Go ahead and throw that out there. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it'd be a fun bike, and the free ride is, when it came out, it was a 4-stroke, and we've seen it become a 2-stroke. And I think I saw a lot of my friends who are in the trials industry or in the trials riding, when that 350 4-stroke version came out, they were like, "Oh my God, why isn't this a 2-stroke?" And I'm like, okay, cool. That's why they wanted it as a 2-stroke. And they would talk to me about it and explain power delivery and why they wanted it to be a 2-stroke. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Next year, we see that free ride come out. Well, it is a 2-stroke. And obviously, if you look at the pipe designs on the free ride and then, of course, now the new X-Trainer, you see a lot of similarities there in the way that they're going to have that super low-end torque. But what it doesn't have that huge expanding chamber that you would see on a typical 2-stroke, which is where we would get a lot of our top end from, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I think they're with that cross trainer, they're kind of trying to combine elements of both bikes, into one, and they really emphasized at the dealer meeting about wanting it to be a fun bike and wanting to have a lot of linear power. And Tim Pilge, who's the marketing manager for Beta, he actually went to Italy and rode one of the models out there with the owner of Beta, and I mean, he said he loved it and how smooth the power it was, and it didn't hit too hard, but it was it was just fun, and that's the key. But for a lot of other racers like me and maybe other viewers out there, I think some of us are looking at it and we're like, well, that's not really what I would ride, but there is a bigger market out there that's not just us. Every bike isn't built for us, and I think sometimes I have to remind myself, that not every product out there is geared towards me. It's geared towards different people.
Right. I mean, even though I'll ride a 690 Adventure, or a Super Enduro from KTM, I may not go buy that bike. But if somebody wants me to borrow it and race it at a cross-country race for fun, I'll do it. So you just find me, and it'll happen. No. Yeah, so we had a good question in the chat room from Mark Weeks, a local dude here in Texas. And this is a question that I've been kind of asking because another good friend, James Hill, his dealer where he gets a lot of his Kawasaki's from what I understand, is going to be carrying betas. And I asked him, and I think you and I have even talked about this a little bit, is the availability on parts, aftermarket kind of availability, and then dealers, and how you guys are going to kind of grow all of that and make sure that distribution is completely covered. Because I do remember that was one of the biggest things with KTM for the longest times before they really were able to take a good foothold on the market, was that people were trying to get parts for KTMs, and that was they couldn't get parts. And so and I'm wondering, with Beta still kind of feeling like a boutique brand, but kind of trying to grow out of that and grow to be a little bit more of a mainstream brand, what is the kind of the game plan there to alleviate that growing pains without having it happen and be like, oh, just like KTM, no parts?
Yeah. I mean, I can preface this in that fact that, I guess I'm newer to the company, so maybe I don't have 100% of the answers. But like parts availability, from what I've seen and from talking to dealers, seems, strong. And then as far as the race team, we're working with a lot of different companies to either build parts, or we already have parts made, like say Dirt Tricks with the rotors, or IMS with quick fill tanks, or FMF with pipes. So, I mean, it's constantly growing, but with any company out there, a brand has to be, bigger for them to want to make, specific parts. But if you look slowly, companies are, building more products for Beta. I think it's just ultimately just, starting to expand further.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you definitely see, I was going to say a lot, but you don't see a lot of people riding Betas, but you see people riding Betas in the off-road world. So they don't exist in motocross and supercross, but KTM's didn't for a long time either. There were bikes out there you could ride in motocross and supercross, but nobody did. They just weren't, for whatever reason, and we could go into that, but this isn't that kind of show. Just shut up. But, so, I mean, that's kind of so do you know if there's a game plan on how to kind of, is to, like, marketing wise, kind of to grow Beta? Like, what are the thought processes on how they can kind of, dive into what KTM is kind of taking over?
I don't know really per se, and I mean, we're really just trying. I know they're trying to expand the dealer network, and they really want to do a lot of this stuff through the dealers. Like, that is a huge focus, and I think we're up to around 140 dealers around the U.S. And a lot of dealers that were at the dealer show, they were normally either former KTM dealers, Gas, or Sherco, and they're just kind of looking for something different at this time. That's kind of where they were at, and I think this year the amount of effort in the race team, it's really going to show the effort that Beta wants to put in the United States and how much they want to grow. And I mean, I'm surprised. Some of these Beta dealers I've talked to, they're so psyched about Beta, the race team. Like, they're just so into it. And it's awesome to see it, like, them backing the riders, too. Like, I mean, they're just excited. And I guess it's cool for me just coming in at this early stage and seeing where we grow in the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you guys are in a really, really neat spot right now. There's a lot to learn, I think, from what we saw with Husky from the late 90s. In that regard, again, early 90s with KTM. What we've seen with Gas as of recent, it seems like Gas has had a lot of issues with parts availability, dealer networks. So it sounds like Beta knows that those are all key points that they don't want to screw up like everybody else did. A lot of the other European brands have done. So it'll be good to see how they pay attention to that kind of stuff. So what else is going on, Mr. Zach Huberty? What other fun information do you have? It's kind of that off season where we're just waiting to hear any kind of tidbits on where people might be going, who's leaving, which Paul Whibley's leaving. And Milner. So Milner is kind of coming in and taking that spot to fill in there. What other kind of fun stuff do you know?
I mean, I got an email not an email last week, but I got a message that I guess AmPro is supposed to announce this week, so we'll know something, hopefully. And I think we're going to be surprised there. It's going to leave a lot of us wondering who's going where and how some people may have ended up there.
Well, and I have no verification on this. I'm just wondering. So the Baylor brothers, KTM announced their team for next year, and Grant Baylor's not on it.
Yep.
And through different messages, through different people, and chatting with this, that, the other, it was pretty much a shoo-in that Grant Baylor was on the team. Bikes were being built and things were being prepared. And then when that press release came out, they were like, oh, well, all that work was for nothing. So it's interesting there that, like, something happened. And so I'm wondering if it's going to be the Baylor brothers on Yamahas or like a support thing, or if they're going to be on support KTM, or if there's other people that are kind of coming and jumping on the Yamaha bandwagon. Not that that's a bad thing. I don't say it in a negative sense. But that new FX, that 250 FX is freaking hot. Like, whoa.
Yeah. And not only that, but if it's true that Grant is going to AmPro, he's making a big step next year. Not only is he going to XC1, but then he's switching bikes. Yeah. And he's switching bikes after being on KTM like maybe all his life. I don't know if he's ever rode another brand.
For a very long time.
Yeah. And I mean, I've always heard that from like locally, they've always told me like, if you leave KTM, like don't expect to come back and get support. And that's one of the other thing I was thinking. It's just like, how long has he been with them? Will we ever see him, if in fact he does go to a different brand, will we ever see him back on Orange someday? And I don't know, I think it's going to be an interesting year if he can get everything dialed, and it's just going to be different. And then you have to wonder where's Stu going to go. I know I saw Bollinger posted a picture yesterday on Instagram saying, he couldn't believe that Stu and him didn't have any rides for next year. And from what I've been told, that they'll both get KTM like backdoor support, but they were trying to do their own team deal at some point. But you never know if Yamaha, floats an offer in there, what they could end up riding.
Yeah. No, and I think like a Bollinger, if he's still going to do the XC2 class, which I think he should, that Yamaha 250 FX would be hot. Now, Stuart Baylor would be, he'd still be in the XC1 class. So have we, and this is complete ignorance on my part at this point, but have we seen like the 250 or the 450 version of an FX, and has that been released, or is that not still been released? Will that be a thing?
I don't know. I thought they did make a 450 version of it, but I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, for some reason I just saw all the publication about the 250, and they didn't really talk about the 450. Let's do it. 2015 YZ 450 FX. Nope. They're not talking about it.
So maybe it is just the 250 then.
Yeah, I think it's just the 250 at this point. So that's why I'm trying to like figure out like what's the 450 going to be, because if we look at what Josh Strang races, he races a 450F that he's done a couple slight modifications to, and he had a lot of issues with the KTM. He even said on the show that he's like, ready to race, ha ha ha. That's such a marketing thing, and I would agree for someone at his level. Any professional has a bike and they know or has a feel for how they want the bike to act. Maybe it was the chromoly frame, maybe it was the suspension, whatever it was, but it's going to take a lot more work than, unboxing it for it to work well for them. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I wonder if do we know if Strang's going to be doing his Rocky Mountain Yamaha deal again?
I don't know. I haven't really heard anything. Last I heard was that they expected him to be there, but it sounds like it's been up in the air.
Oh, interesting. Oh, and somebody in the chat room just said, what about Husky? They could picture Farringer filling in Bobbitt's role since he's back to the KTM team. What about that? That's a good one. I like that. Thank you, person in the chat room.
I think Farringer's back at Air Group, but then again, I haven't heard a single word on Air Group in a long time, and I know they've been looking for like a new team manager. But I haven't heard, anything on Farringer. I know he just finished that last OMA.
Yeah. Well, then that means we need to reach out to Farringer, doesn't it? I think we should do that. We're going to have to reach out to Farringer and see what's going on there. That could be fun. So we got, and Mark Weeks is talking about the Ozark 100 in there. So that's coming up the end of November. Are you going to be at that event?
No, I won't be there.
Missouri? Yeah.
Yeah, I think Shan Moore said he's going to that, and I haven't even heard which pro riders are going. I know normally
Stu Baylor's going to be there. I know we got our Texas dude Drew Higgins is going to head up there. Cole Hensley is really local, which, by the way, you remember the Walter White episode that we had with him when he was on, where we were talking, like, it turned out we wound up talking about meth the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. So they actually had a local race where the cops showed up at the local race and arrested one of the pro racers after he crossed the finish line for being a heroin and meth dealer.
Wow.
How intense is that shit? And apparently the reason the cops showed up originally out there is because there was a lady that OD'd at the race on heroin.
Yeah.
How crazy is that shit? That doesn't happen at my local races. What are you doing? Are you filming the Blair Witch Project?
No, I'm moving.
This is fun. So Mark Weeks says he's going to go out there and support the old guys. That'd be cool. I don't know. I got to see what Thanksgiving looks like. I have to say, dude, there is so much crap around this house that needs to get done. I don't have the money to fix it. I don't have the time to fix it, even if I did have the money. It's like kind of ridiculous. So I want to go ride, but this past weekend we did that mountain bike enduro, and that was a shit ton of fun. That was really cool. Do you guys have any of these like mountain bike enduros that go on up there in the Northeast?
Not that I know of.
It's really neat. I mean, it's and by no means is it a copy of the National Enduro format, because this format's been going on for a while too, but outside the States, and the States have really just kind of just started to pick up on it. But it's literally like I start, and you start with a transition, so you transition to your test or your stage, as they call it. Then you ride your stage, and that's where you go as fast as you can, and then you ride your next transition and stuff like that. But the whole idea is that you know these transitions aren't easy. They're not slow. You have to keep a good trail pace and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more like a qualifier format than it would be a National Enduro format, but it was still a shit ton of fun, and it was really cool. So it was neat.
Yeah, I know they've done that with like horses down here in New Jersey, which is now taking over our riding areas. But
horses?
Yeah, they now do horse enduros, which I never knew about it until recently. But they have horse enduros, which is the same exact thing. It's like a 50-mile loop, and you have different checks, and they race through the woods. But it's an interesting one.
There you go, man. It all started with riding dirt bikes in the woods, and now it's
now it's horses.
Everything. I was wondering if there was a way that we could do some kind of dirt biking duathlon or thing. But it's like I've always enjoyed a good off-road duathlon where you do a little bit of trail running, a little bit of mountain biking, or maybe some kayaking or whatever thrown in the mix. And I'm wondering if there's a fun way to add in some dirt biking into that, like it's some dirt bike event, like some Saturday afternoon or something. What do you think? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be interesting. I'm up for anything new, so.
Yeah, we could throw on some spandex, do some stretching in front of everybody.
You can do that.
Yeah, I can. Yes, Mark Weeks, it was fun as hell, and I told you to come, but you didn't. I posted it all over my Facebook. It's not for fun. That's a legitimate advertising space for me to talk about all the cool shit we do. You should come with us. sucker.
Well, when I saw your picture for that, I mean, it's like, how much stuff were you carrying with you? You had hydration pack, helmet cam.
I mean, that helmet,
bicycle pump.
I looked pretty bitchin', didn't I? No, that picture, I looked like a freaking chode. I looked like an idiot, man. It was cold. It was like 30-something degrees that first day. It was in the high 30s when we got started. And so, I've got layers upon layers on. But you're about to get really hot, so you can't, like, over layer up. Like, it's obviously a strategy to what you're going to wear as you head out there. But, yeah, so I had my Useway, the new A4. So the 3 liters of water, and then I had a bunch of parts and tools and all my goos and bars and stuff. Like I had all my Epic bars, all my Thunderbird bars. Their new hunter-gatherer packs, which is like a beef jerky and a trail mix pack. Holy shit, those things are good. Like if you haven't tried anything that Thunderbird or Epic puts out, go to epicbar.com and try out their new hunter-gatherer stuff. Holy crap, that stuff is awesome. The mix pack. Get the mix pack. Oh, so good. But yeah, it was a ton of fun. Oh, we lost. He just said, fuck you. I'm done with the show. We'll try to get him back up here. But, of course, big thanks to the guys over at Stillwell Performance. You can find them at stillwellperformance.com. They make your squishy suck less. No, but so seriously, stillwellperformance.com. What you want to do is go there, do the contact form, say, hey, I heard about you guys on Seat Time. I want to get my suspension done by you guys, or I at least want to ask questions about my suspension. I ride here. This is the kind of riding I do. This is who I ride with. This is how fast I go. All that kinds of stuff, and they can help you get a much better tuning going. So stillwellperformance.com. I'm very, very thankful for their support of Seat Time. So what do you think, Mr. Zach Huberty?
I think I need better internet.
Yeah, you and us both. Oh, my God. It's such a joke, dude. We try so hard to get better internet for this, and it just fucking net neutrality bullshit where they just throttle the crap out of you for anything you want to do that seems, like it's either streaming porn or downloading movies. Which, I mean, technically this could be porn and maybe it could be a movie too, but I own all the rights to me and what I do with it, so get over it. Oh, shut up.
Yeah, I don't know. My issue is like, I've gotten a new phone recently and a new laptop, and they do not seem to like my router. And kind of just, I can't be too far from it, or it just starts to fizzle out.
It's never a good thing. Never a good thing. So what new beta are you going to get? This beta you're talking about you're waiting for.
Oh, that's to build Jesse a practice bike.
Okay.
He has a 300 right now, but he wants to try 250. So that's actually getting shipped in tomorrow, and then I'll build it and hopefully have it ready for him Saturday or Sunday.
Very cool. Well, what beta are you going to ride? What's your choice, your weapon of choice?
I'm stuck between the 250 and 300, but riding the 250 recently, I think I'm going to stick with the beta 250 and give it a try, and I think it'll be fine. They're very similar bikes, and I really like both of them, so there's really not a bad choice, but I think I'll just stick with the 250 for now.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Good to know. And then beta trials bikes. When is mine going to show up at the house?
I don't know.
That's it? I don't know. Damn it.
Whenever that leaves the bank account.
Yeah. Whenever the check gets written.
Yeah.
I love it. You're a good businessman. All right. That's fine with me. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's coming. I'm super excited to see what Yamaha stepping up their program with the off-road bikes really starts to bring to the table. I don't think we're going to see much this year in 2015 because of it, but it at least shows commitment and a willingness to understand that what KTM is doing works, and that they own the market because they care about the market. And they show that they care about the market. I'm not a KTM, CEO or head of anything, so, they could just be really good at marketing and realize that, oh, look, we've got this one bike, and we can sell it in all these different models just by changing a couple parts in production, and bam! And then you just change up your marketing for it, and it works. And obviously, there's way more to it than that. But Other people, I think they've been wanting to do this for a while. Maybe Yamaha's been waiting until they had the 450 ready to go to make the 250 version. The 250 version worked great. Now we get some great off-road versions. So we're just going to see who else comes up and really makes some bitchin' off-road. How crazy would it be if like Suzuki or Cowie or like Honda came back into the game and like legitimately came back into the off-road game?
I mean, it'd be awesome. I'm welcome to any other brand coming in because in the end, that's only going to fuel the sport and it's going to give riders more rides, and more riders are going to have, different bike possibilities. But I think I saw in Europe that they debuted that RMZ X or something.
Yep. Yeah.
More like an off-road model of their RM250, and man, I'm excited. I hope some of these other brands really come back into GNCC or National Enduro or just get involved.
Yep, I think it'd be neat. Well, cool. Well, we're not going to do a show next week. It's Thanksgiving. We've just got so much stuff going on. And then December, we're probably going to do the same thing, do about 2 shows during that week. So we want to know what you guys think we should talk about. We've got that time. We've had the really good episodes with Coach Seiji where we've talked a lot about training and nutrition, things like that. Obviously, we've talked with Alan Stillwell before, so when it comes to suspension. We could possibly talk with some of the flex bars guys, talk about like the development. And they know so much about ergonomics that they could seriously bring a lot to the table. That may be a really good episode to have. But, Zach, so what do you think? What would be some good off-season topics for us to kind of chat about in the next couple of weeks?
Well, as soon as some of these announcements come out, I think there's going to be a lot of chatter going on.
Right.
I don't really know of anything product-wise coming down the line or any other new news, but we haven't seen anybody from Fly on in a while.
Ooh.
I don't think Dale's been on in quite a bit.
Dale hasn't been on since he used his shitty iPad with that crappy-ass front-facing camera, so he looked like a pixelated video game.
No, but I mean, I think just getting some other industry people on, it's great to hear different perspectives, and there's always good stories out there, and maybe get some amateur guys like Nick Davis. I mean, he's not amateur, but I think he's going to have a good future ahead of him. He's been killing it.
Does he have news coming up soon?
I don't know.
Me neither. We'll have to
Maybe.
find out. Well, cool. Well, Zach, thank you very much for coming on to Seat Time again. And this time, it wasn't that you had to save the day. It was you being an awesome guest as always. But we love it when you can come on and save the day because those are fun too.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate you having me on.
And you even created a little bit of a Blair Witch project for us.
Yeah. Got a little dark.
It was kind of freaky. You were like walking with it, and it was like, ooh. Was it that movie, The Conjuring or something? Is like this little floating head.
Yeah.
Excuse
on
me.
the fly.
Well, apparently I'm really sick all of a sudden, and my throat has gone extremely dry. Maybe I need some more of this vodka. I don't know. That might help. We'll see. Well, Zach, thank you very much for coming on the show again. Congratulations on the new job. Just keep us up to date as all these little press releases keep coming up so we can keep talking about it, okay?
Yeah, and I'm, can't forget I'm not just beta too. I've still got the website going, so.
Yeah, buddy.
Got 2 hats on.
It's a lot of hats, man. It's a lot of hats.
Yeah, they're getting heavy.
Hey-o. Well, just keep your head down and keep working hard, and you'll succeed.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think my dad told me that once. Now I'm like your dad. That's awkward. Apologize. It just got seriously serious.
It's all right. I'm used to it by now.
Right? All right, dude. Enjoy the evening, and we'll chat soon. Thanks again.
All right, thanks.
Later, dude. Awesome. So episode 149, we got a chance to talk with Jeff Fredette. Super cool dude. Man, has just been around the world, literally racing his dirt bike at 34 different ISDEs, finishing 33 of them. Oh my gosh, excuse me. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about his involvement with the team USA ISDE and kind of where he sees that going in the future. Then we got a chance to talk with Zach Huberty about his new position at Beta, what Beta's got coming out with some of their new riders, new bike with the X-Trainer, and where we see that kind of going. It'll be interesting to see things as they develop. Now, of course, yes, we're going into the off-season, things like that. This is the time to help us formulate the shows. So nobody just won anything, blah, 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 blah. So we want to know what you want us to talk about or what you want us to research or what you want us to do a show on. That's how this works. So if you're interested, you can message us on Facebook. You can send us stuff on Twitter, Instagram, pictures if you pointing at stuff you want us to talk about, any of that kind of stuff. You just tag Seat Time in it, and then we'll get it, and we'll do the show for you. So again, no show next week. Make sure that you go enjoy the time with your family. If you celebrate Thanksgiving and you want to give thanks for that, do that. If you do not, have fun regardless. Just make sure that you're a good person and don't fuck anybody over from being a dickhead. That's all I ask. Oh, man. Episode 149. So this has been Seat Time. You can find us at seattime.co. That is the website where we archive all of the shows. We are on Stitcher and on iTunes if you'd like to listen to just the audio only. We're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/seattime. We're on Twitter, twitter.com/seattime_co. Or on Instagram, it's just regular old Seat Time. Hashtag Pintful of Awesome or Seat Time Live while you're watching the show or checking in after the fact. That's the way to do it. Big thanks to Fly Racing, Stillwell Performance, and Fast Company for their support of Seat Time. Flex bars, go check them out. Stillwell Performance, your squishy suck less. And Fly Racing, of course, those guys do a great job of just making you look fly. So, again, it has been a year since the passing of Kurt Caselli. Heavy hearts on this couch for sure. But you just got to remember everything that he did for us while he was here, the 30 years that he was with us. Super amazing dude. Just think about that, all the positive vibes. If you need to kind of relive some stories that other people have had, go check out the show that we did last year. It was awesome. Those are fantastic stories. We had Brian's story on the couch, and he was telling all the different ISDE stories of being there with Kurt. Super cool stuff. So go do something that scares you, and always enjoy a pint full of awesome. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace.